All right, today is day 3. We're going to be talking about the power of power rules. All right, so what this means is we are taking a power, a base with an exponent, and raising it to an exponent. So the rule simply says if I take the base b, raise it to the exponent of a, and then raise that to the exponent of c, that I am going to multiply those exponents. So when we raise a power to a power, we multiply the exponents. So for example, I have x squared, and then I'm going to raise that to the third power. So now that becomes x to the 2 times 3, which is x to the 6th. Now the question is, why does this rule work? Well, remember back to the basic definition. X squared raised to the third power means that we have 3 groupings of x squared multiplied together. Well, remember back also that x squared means that I have x times x. And x squared means x times x. And then the last one, x squared, x times x. Now, if we count those, then that gives us x to the 6th. So that is where that rule comes from. Okay. Now, the other thing that we have to realize is if there is more than one term being raised to a power, then you must raise each term to that exponent. So what that means is we're going to take this 2 and it's going to go to both the 3 and to the 4. So what it becomes is 3 squared x to the 4 times 2. So 3 squared is 9, x to the 4 times 2 would be x to the 8th. Okay, let's try it down here. So we're going to take the 3, it's going to be 2 to the 3rd power, x to the 4 times 3, y to the 1 times 3. So 2 to the 3rd, remember that's 2 times 2, which is 4, times 2, which is 8. X to the 4 times 3, which is the 12. Y to the 1 times 3, which is 3. So 8x to the 12th, y to the 3rd. Okay, so now let's try a few. So we're going to start in, we're going to take the 3, bring it in, and that's going to get us x to the 2 times 3, which is going to get us x to the 6th. Here on the second one, we have more than one thing, so we're going to take the 2 and bring it to each of those exponents. So this is going to be x to the 3 times 2, y to the 4 times 2, which is going to give me x to the 6th, y to the 8th. All right, let's try one with a coefficient. So we're going to take the 3, bring it to the exponent there, and to there. So we have 2 to the 3rd, x to the 4 times 3. So 2 to the 3rd, 2 times 2 times 2, that gives me 8, x to the 12th. And the last one here, we're going to take the 2, and we're going to bring it to each of the variables and coefficients. So we end up with 3 squared, x to the 1 times 2, y to the 4 times 2. So that's going to get me 3 squared, which is 9, x to the 2nd, y to the 8th. Okay, so now that we have 2 rules, we're going to mix them together. So we're going to do some product of powers and powers of powers mixed together. So on this first one, this one is just a straight up product of powers. So we're going to take our coefficients, multiply them. So 4 times negative 3, that's going to get me negative 12. Remember, if I have common bases, I'm going to add their exponents. So this is going to be x to the 2 plus 4, and then y to the 3 plus 1. So now we simplify that down, we get 12, x to the 6th, y to the 4th. Okay. On this next one, you will notice that we have a power of a powers and a product of powers. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the power of a powers. So we're going to take the 3 and bring it through to everything. So we have 2 to the 3rd, x to the 2 times 3, y to the 1 times 3. Then we're going to take that and multiply it by negative 4, x, y to the 4th. So the first thing I'm going to do is simplify the first part here. So 2 to the 3rd, that's going to get me 8, x to the 2 times 3 gets me 6. Y to the 1 times 3 gets me y to the third. And I'm going to multiply that by 4x y to the fourth. Now, what we do, remember, is we look for coefficient to coefficient. We're just multiplying. So 8 times negative 4 is negative 32. I have a common base of x. So I take and I add those. So that would be x to the 6 plus 1. And then I have a common base of y. So I'm going to go y to the 3 plus 4. So that's going to give me negative 32, x to the 7th, y to the 7th. And that would be our final answer there. Okay? On this next one, we have two of them that have powers of a power. And then we're going to be multiplying that together. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 2 to each thing inside this grouping. So we have 3 squared, x to the 2 times 2, y to the 3 times 2. Then on the second one, we're going to take the 3 to each part. And that's going to give me 2 to the third, x to the 3 times 3, y to the 1 times 3. Now I'm going to simplify that. So 3 squared, that's 9, 3 times 3. X to the 2 times 2 would be x to the 4th. Y to the 3 times 2 would be y to the 6th. Over here I have 2 to the 3rd, which is 8. X to the 3 times 3, which is 9. Y to the 1 times 3, which is 3. Now we're going to take and we're going to find our common bases and our coefficients. So 9 times 8, that's 72. I have a common base of x. So I'm going to go x to the 4 plus 9. And then I have a common base of y. And that's going to give me y to the 6 plus 3. So then my final answer, when I put it all together now, is 72, x to the 13th, y to the 9th. And that is how we do powers of a power and product of a powers combined together, but also how we break each rule down separately.